Ladies and gentlemen, we are now talking to former Marlins third baseman and former LSU and Browns quarterback, the one and only Josh Booty. Josh, what's up, man? You like that? It was nice. It was a good cheer. Josh, tell us a little bit about what you've been doing over the last couple of weeks. As we all know, the LSU Tigers, they have, I believe, arguably the number one pick in this year coming class. I think the best quarterback in the nation. But how are you doing? How's everything going over the last couple of weeks?
Awesome, man. Again, thanks for having me on. I just spent 21 days in a row doing a golf tour all over the U.S. from the Hamptons to Park City, Utah, from L.A. to Wisconsin. We had a blast. I'm working on a project right now. Bula Betting is the name of Bula Instant Bets is the name of the app, peer-to-peer social gambling app, and we're having so much fun with creating content. We're gonna launch the app around golf, but man, it's football season. I was at the LSU game. Nussmeier looked good. I have a son that plays for Clemson. He's a wide receiver, so I wore neutral colors to the game, but and I'm a Dabo guy. But at the same time, LSU winning was huge for them. They hadn't won a first game of the season in the last 5 years, so man, to get that monkey off their back was big, and they did it in a big way. Man, they played great defense. They threw the ball around a lot. They've got great set of receiving core to really help Nussmeier, and I think his numbers are going to be outstanding this year. So, yeah, he's got potential to be the first pick overall. He's been in college for 5 years, and he knows what he's doing. His dad's a football coach as well. He's groomed for this. So I can't wait to see what LSU does the rest of the way.
So what is your opinion on the controversial head coach, Mr. Brian Kelly? Now, we've seen his defenses be very bad, but they showed up against Clemson. I'll give him a lot of credit. What are your thoughts to him right now as a head coach?
Yeah, heading into the season, man, there's a lot of question marks on him, and there would be a potential hot seat take place if they lost that first game. And it's kind of like DeBoer at Alabama right now. They're really taking a good look at him. So I like him as a head coach. He always won ball games. I just don't know if he fits perfectly in Baton Rouge. And for him to fit perfectly, he's got to win a national championship because Les Miles was able to do it. Of course, we know Saban was able to do it and brought the first one in a long time there. And then Coach Orgeron, our good friend Coach O, won one as well. So I think that's the kind of the rallying cry of the LSU faithful is, can this guy lead us to the promised land and win a national championship? You got to win big games like that. That's a really good indication or indicator of what this season could be. They played tough. Their defense, that linebacker group runs to the football. Cade Klubnik kind of got out of whack a little bit and tried to get outside the pocket a little too much, and they just ran him down. And he doesn't have elite speed. He's a good kind of a hybrid quarterback. But, man, if you're going to try to run away from the LSU linebacker core this year, you better be Lamar Jackson or LaNorris Sellers. That's how good that I think our secondary and our linebackers are. And so, those safeties in the run game really help. Clemson didn't run the football well, but LSU's got a strong schedule, favors them. But they got a strong team, man.
Yeah, I've always, as a college athlete, you see LSU and their fans too, and you're talking about coaching. And how much do you think like a coach and the players like embracing the culture of Baton Rouge like plays into part of, obviously it's tradition, but just the love and the pride you have to put that uniform on, because seeing it from afar is awesome. And as a kid from Nebraska, I mean, that's college sports is us, and being having friends that have gone to LSU, it's so refreshing to see the love and how much goes into that. And you can see it transfer. Like how does that play a part in the program?
Well, I think, being able to adapt to the culture is big, because in Louisiana, we don't have another in-state school that is as massive as LSU or even contends with LSU. If you talk about like the other states in the SEC, like Mississippi, Georgia has Georgia Tech, Alabama's got Auburn, Florida's, of course, got all the big ones, South Carolina, Clemson, Texas, now Texas A&M, and all the other big schools. It's like if you own your state. So I'll go back to the culture thing that I commented on. I think if you can own that state and you can really make good friends with the high school coaching staffs around the state, you're going to pluck a lot of those good players out of the state, and you're going to get all the ones that you want, or most of the ones you want. We always lose one or two, to an out. Saban used to pick them up all the time. He would come and get Devontae Smith or Landon Collins. I mean, guys that were all-American type players, even Heisman Trophy winners that, I wish would have stayed in the state. But you can't get them all, but if you can get most of them, man, there's so much speed and athleticism. And then that big D line, I mean, we can rotate them in and out. One of the things Saban said when he was there coaching us was, if we can get 8 good defensive linemen on the team where I can rotate 4 and rotate another 4 and keep them coming and have depth, and because you're always going to get some injuries. If you can have that solid D line, that's what's going to win you championships, is a great quarterback and a solid defensive line. Those were always his first 2 things that he thought about in recruiting. He thought he could build around all of the other stuff.
We are talking to former Marlins third baseman and former LSU and LSU and Browns quarterback, Josh Booty. Josh, obviously there was a story that came out about Danny Lanning and Mike Gundy with the NIL beef. I know you've heard the story, and Mr. Gundy took shots at Lanning on spending money and the NIL deals and thinking that he can go out and attack somebody because he's going to go out there and spend the NIL deal and the money. So what are your thoughts to that story?
Well, I think the rich get richer. As we all know, Dan Lanning is coaching in a place where he's got Phil Knight and the Nike, the backdrop of all that and the deep pockets of Mr. Knight and all that. So, I mean, you want to be in a position where you're in a loaded situation as a coach. And when you think about Ohio State or Texas or the teams that are at the top of the heap right now, LSU, I mean, it's big name, big brand schools. Oklahoma State's going to have a little bit of a problem. I know they have one big alumni there that spreads the wealth to everybody. But, I just think right now in this environment with the NIL and the transfer portal, man, the big schools with a lot of money are able to go and pluck players away. Even teams like Miami or Florida State, they got them some quarterbacks this year that will really make a difference for them. So I think that's the biggest issue, is if you land the guys, you're pumped. If you don't land the guys, you're going to cause rift, and I know Saban's trying to help the the NCAA try to figure out how this thing could work in a better manner, but right now it's the Wild West, and you got to go get those players, man. And a lot of these teams who have won national championships over the last few years have gone out in the portal and got their quarterback. Will Howard, Joe Burrow, these kids have gone to other places where they didn't play, and they come out smelling like a rose. And some of these guys are winning Heisman trophies too. And so, you want to be in the best situation. I don't like the guys that are transferring 3 or 4 or 5 times. I don't like that because it's bad for football. I think for the college game, there's no loyalty there in some regards, but a coach would leave in a heartbeat too. And I think that was what set this thing on fire to begin with, is that coaches can bounce around and leave schools, but then the players are left behind, and maybe there's another coach in there that didn't recruit you or doesn't run the same system that can really alienate you as a player. So there's a fine line to all this stuff, man. But I like a little of the rift and wrath going back and forth from coaches. That's what college football is all about. It's talk a little trash, talk a little shit, and see what goes down. But Oklahoma State, they're in a world of trouble because they don't have a good ball club this year.
So, speaking of Nick Saban, I think the Alabama Crimson Tide miss him a lot right now after they go down to Florida State. Do you think it's more of a good on Florida State? Maybe they're rising again, or is it a bad on Alabama and they should be concerned? You as an LSU fan, I know you love that, but should they be concerned?
I think it's a little of both. I think Florida State's much improved. They got a trigger man now that can play, can make you kind of worry about every blade of grass on the field. They always have great athletes and great defenders and great secondary players and receivers and running backs. They're always loaded, man. If you go and just scouted them, you would go, man, they got some guys that are freaks on those ball clubs. It's just, are they coming together as a team? Last year they didn't have the quarterback. A couple years ago DJ Ugalele didn't play very well. They've had some rough times, and trying to win and get back in the winning column was big for them. I know Alabama, it just doesn't look like the efforts there, the attention to detail, of course, that we all have grown accustomed to. And Nick doesn't let anybody slide. And that's one thing that DeBoer is going to have to understand. And maybe the West Coast mentality is a little bit more chill. He better get after their ass a little bit, or they're gonna end up on a mudslide, dude. And the rest of the SEC is just licking their chops to try to get a hold of them right now while they're down. So, can they right the ship and get back into some winning attitude moments? I think that's the thing, is their quarterback situation too. I know Ty Simpson's a 5-star guy, but he's going to have to do some special stuff. Last year, Jalen wasn't able to throw the football when they needed to. He was a special athlete, but they've got to find a guy in that position that can get those receivers the ball time in, time out, because they got dudes on the outside.
Yeah, you touched on this a little bit, and I got a son who's a sophomore in college playing baseball. It's obviously you have a son playing too. You touched on the transfer portal a little bit, and I always like to get not only players but dads' opinions on it too. And where we make a decision: are we raising young men or are we raising young businessmen? Because I think that plays a part in what goes into putting our kids in the best situation, whether it's our daughters going to play volleyball or softball, run track, whatever it is. And do you think there should be a cap at some point for these kids? Or do you think it's like, hey, if you want to spend it, go ahead and spend it? And do you think it's been good for the college game? Because we know it's been happening. It's just been happening in a different way and just didn't get caught, or you got caught after the fact.
I think, the ratings are up, which I don't understand, but I do understand because sports is so big and media coverage is so big, and all these games are all on TV now. So the sport, everybody loves it. I couldn't wait till football came on last Thursday night when we got the first game of the season for college football. I could not wait. And so
it threw my days off, though. It threw my days off. And then the holiday, I was like, dang.
It does. We get a Thursday night game this week as well. But, I think as a parent, you want to see your kid, succeed to the level that gives him a chance to make some money while he's in college, because it's open to everybody. So now they're dealing with the same thing that a receiver or a quarterback or a D lineman or a star receiver or running back, wherever across the board and on every campus is getting opportunities. So it's like, it's almost like getting drafted in baseball, as in the minor leagues. Like there's first rounders, and then there's guys that sign free agent deals, and they get a plane ticket is all they get, right? And when after a minor league game, some of them go out and eat steak, some of them go back home and make tuna salad. I mean, that's just the way of the beast. That's the way of the world. It's just now it's happening in amateur sports, which is so foreign to us because that's how it's been for hundreds of years. When Nebraska showed up, there wasn't nobody getting paid, but they were mauling people back in the 80s with Osborne and those guys, and they had to build their product with the weight room and the strength and conditioning and the training and bringing them up as grown men. Now you can go get 8, 10, 12 starters from other schools and pluck them and pay them and bring them in and actually develop a winning team. I mean, Dion was able to do that last year, and we thought he couldn't do it, and he did it. He brought a bunch of guys in. I mean, every time a game is on, you hear about the number of returning starters and then the incoming NIL transfer guys that are actually helping the team. It's like, wow, we had a guy, Max Johnson, who y'all saw last night in North Carolina, Brad Johnson's son. He's 24, same age as Belichick's girlfriend, but he was he was playing for LSU against A&M a couple years ago, and then the next year he's at A&M playing against LSU. I don't like that because that's inside of our side of the division in the conference. I don't like that stuff. So there's some stuff that I do like about it. There should be a cap on it. There's no doubt. I think there's some jealousy that's going to enter into the locker room situations in a lot of cases, especially like with Carson Beck last year at Georgia. He's driving a Lamborghini. They didn't really enjoy him being the kind of guy he was. And the next thing you know, they got rid of him, and he's at Miami. He's looking for another job, and he's an All-American type player. So I think the guys have to handle it. They've got to be mature. There's a lot more that these kids are having to handle now than we ever did in college when I was playing at LSU. I drove a Corvette because I was playing baseball, and everybody looked at me like I was damn Elon Musk. I said, guys, it's a Corvette. It's not a big deal.
You were doing it better than me. I was driving a 96 Jeep Grand Cherokee, dog.
I have my Corvette, but, man, I got rid of it after about 6 months because I'm like, these guys don't like me because I'm driving a Corvette. They think that I think I'm cooler than everybody else. And I said, dude, I played 4 years of baseball and earned the damn Corvette. You know what I'm saying? But they didn't, it's different times now. I mean, that would never happen now. Guys Bijan Robinson had a Lamborghini at Texas last year, 2 years ago, so it's just, it's an odd deal that we're living in, an odd age that we're living in, but it's the transformation of college football. I hope that they can come in and put a little bit of cap on some of the money because it's just getting retarded. We lost Underwood to Michigan because of 10 or 12 million bucks and we couldn't pay him at LSU. And so it just it's a weird situation that we're all having to get used to.
As everyone knows, we are talking to the one and only Marlins third baseman, former Marlins third baseman, and former LSU Browns quarterback, Josh Booty. Josh, obviously, I want to get into baseball because the Yankees have been taking a lot of slack on the Aaron Boone situation. Aaron Boone right now is on the hot seat. The Yankees have been up and down all season long. None of the fans are giving Aaron Boone any slack. They're blaming Aaron Boone for everything. Are you surprised that the fans have attacked Aaron Boone as much as they have? And do you think that maybe the fans need to attack somebody else? Maybe some of the executives of the organization not doing the right thing for Aaron Boone?
It's like college football and like Alabama. When you don't play well, you look towards the coach at DeBoer, or if Brian Kelly would have got sideswiped in the Clemson game, everybody's wanting to hang his head, hang him on a pole. I mean, I think that's what it is. When you got the type of talent that the Yankees have, and that's year in, year out, Jabba knows this better than anybody. I mean, they're going into every game loaded and a lot of time favorites and don't come out on top. Then you start wondering what's going on internally, and is there a problem in the locker room? Are they not playing well on the road or in clutch situations? You start asking yourself all these questions, especially as media in New York, it just eats people alive, and then they start looking towards Aaron. Has he won a World Series lately? What's he done for us? Is he a Joe Torre? Is he one of those guys that's going to get us, over the, to the promised land and over the hump and to win a World Series with these caliber athletes that we've got? Y'all are loaded in New York, and it's every year. But so there comes a time where you got to really ask those questions. I've known Aaron since he was young. I know Jabba too, but I've known Aaron since I was young. We actually dated a same girl at some point when we were like 19 or 20 years old. And that's how I met him. I'm like, dude, I think you just started talking to the girl that I was dating. And he's like, oh yeah, I think I did. But that's neither here nor there, man. Now I'm just hoping he can pull this thing off and win him a World Series. Cause I've always been a Yankee fan, man. I'm a Dave Winfield Mattingly guy.
Oh, yeah.
I love the Yankees since I was a kid.
So there's a story a few weeks ago. Rob Manfred was proposing geographic realignment in baseball, which would basically make the divisions much more condensed to where they are. And you being a guy that played for the Marlins, there's a lot of relocation rumors with all these different teams. Like, what are your thoughts to all that with a lot of these smaller market teams potentially moving as well?
Well, I don't mind if they move to better places. You like to see fans in the stands, but there's teams that have been in these cities for a long, long time, and there's history. And I don't even like that some of these teams have had to change their names, like the Cleveland Guardians to the Indians. I don't like all this stuff sometimes. I can't stand it. That's my view on it. But I hope the Florida Marlins. I live in Fort Lauderdale, so I'd like to have the team here. But right now it's football season. I'm thinking football. I mean, my head is completely into football. I wish I was more into baseball, but I do watch it from a distance. And, of course, I'm always watching Intentional Talk with my boy Kevin Millar, who's one of my best friends in the world. We were roommates for 3 years. So I stay in tune with baseball, but not as much as you guys.
Yeah, I mean, this is the best time of the year for sports in general. But, yeah, I always find it interesting, the multi-sport athletes that get an opportunity to do it at the next level. It's hard enough to do it, in college, let alone like when you get to. What was the determining factor? Obviously, signing bonus probably helped at that point, but was there something that you knew you could go back? I know obviously there was a stipulation in your contract, right? If you signed, you couldn't go back and play while you were trying to go through it. Am I wrong on that?
Right. I had a 5-year no football clause, and I'd gotten drafted by the Marlins in the first round, and Wayne Huizenga paid me a nice bonus, and it was for me to leave the opportunity to play, quarterback and shortstop at LSU, and with Skip Bertman at the time, the legendary baseball coach at LSU. And that's what I always wanted to do when I was growing up, is play shortstop for the Tigers. I was a baseball player, but my dad was a football coach. And then my senior year, we won a state championship. My younger brother was a receiver on the team. He ended up signing with LSU several years after I went and played baseball. And I always wanted to play football with him in college. And to be honest with you, if I had to go back and do it all over again, I'd probably play college football and then play a little summer baseball and then see where like Shea Morenz. I don't know if y'all know. You remember Shea Java? He was a Yankee guy that was the Texas quarterback. He was like a second rounder, and he would go and play. He'd play two sports, and he'd play baseball in the summer. But then it's hard because if you're not there with the football team practicing and going through all this day-to-day stuff and learning the ins and outs and being a good teammate and the camaraderie part of football, it's like you won't be the starter. So at LSU, I had to make a decision to go back. When I made the decision to go back, I had to lay baseball down for a year or two, because I knew it was going to take everything just to get on the field at LSU, because those guys, I hadn't played football in 4 years, and we had 4 or 5 guys that were in that quarterback room that ended up getting drafted, years after the subsequent years after I was there. So, I mean, it just takes, to be a quarterback, man, it takes everything you got and more. And especially playing for Nick Saban, and Jimbo Fisher was my offensive coordinator. So there was no baseball, going back to baseball, once I decided to play at LSU, and we struggled. We struggled a little bit early.
You, Josh.
Dude, I'll never go back to play baseball.
I love you, Josh, but Jimbo Fisher was a guy that ran my favorite college football team, and that's the Seminoles. So I can't stand Jimbo Fisher, especially when he left the Seminoles to go to Texas A&M. I think everybody remembers that. So I love you, but as soon as you brought that up, it just completely flatlined me when you mentioned Jimbo Fisher. We are talking to former Marlins third baseman and former LSU and Browns quarterback Josh Booty. Josh, you look at baseball, and this deferred money stuff has really bothered me. And what the Dodgers are doing to baseball, and I know it's been around forever. What were your thoughts, and what are your thoughts to the deferred money the Dodgers have really ruined baseball with? And do you think baseball should do something about that when the new CBA comes out?
Well, it's a business tactic. That's for damn sure. I mean, we still know Bobby Bowday. He's making money every year, and the media always talks about that. I mean, that's what we're going to talk about Ohtani and that deal that he made. Getting paid 30 years from now. I don't even know how long that damn contract is. I've seen it, but I don't remember it well. But it's business, man, and if you can get away with it, that's what they're trying to do, to be able to sign the other guys that they want to sign, to make that team. Give that team a run to win, 5 World Championships in the next 10 years. I think that's what their goal is, to try to win a bunch of championships and do it through a creative business way of doing it. And so you can't hate on them, but I don't like the deferred stuff. I like that. It seems like it's a little unfair when teams have such big pockets, and the big market teams are always going to have bigger pockets. We've known that. It's amazing when small market teams get deep into the playoffs, and I kind of pull for those guys. It's kind of like watching Boise State or something in the college football playoff. You got to pull for those little guys, but at the same time, how do you compete with the Dodgers and the Yankees and the Sox, and in a real situational deal over the course of time, and that gives them a chance to really win. And so it's I don't really have a view on it, but I know that there's a lot of big money out there that the guys are making over a long period of time.
So you obviously have a betting company as well, Bula.bet. It's a golf betting company, and we've had a lot of stories coming out with controversies in sports betting. Malik Beasley got suspended, I think, indefinitely. Jonte Porter obviously banned for life in the NBA. There's a couple MLB players that are younger that got banned for life in sports betting. What is your overall impact on the sports betting for athletes as a whole and just in general?
Well, for the athletes that are competing, it's I was buddies with Pete Rose, and I hated to see what happened to him, and I figured he wouldn't get into the Hall until after he passed away, and I thought it was sad because he seemed to always, just bet on himself or bet on the team that he was on. He never bet against himself. So, I love to gamble. I don't bet a ton of money, but I do love gambling. We've created this peer-to-peer social gambling app, but an athlete that's playing in the games, I'd steer clear from that. I think it's just such a touchy subject. But I heard y'all talking about Matt Boyer before I came on. Matt is a good friend of mine. I mean, I've known him for a long time, and in Orange County, California, and he was the one associated with Shohei Ohtani's deal, and I just hate it for him. But I think there's not a real place for it in guys that are currently playing, because it's just there's too many things that could go wrong there in terms of how you can mismanage one bet or something and click or click a button and say, the Royals +3 against the Yankees tonight, and you really hit the Yankees and it's not your team. You know what I'm saying? So I think there's little things that could go wrong there, even if you allow them to gamble. So I don't like that. I don't like that current players would gamble. But as soon as you're done playing, I think it should be a free world.
We've seen it's become that every other commercial is a gambling site. It's one of the things where, as we in the locker rooms, it's always like March Madness, and you always have those type of deals and whatever. It's just, what you're doing, like, in that for me, it's so readily available now, but I just don't think there's a way to restrict it, just because it's bringing in so much money and it is so profitable in so many ways. And you see, and we've talked about this on our show before, it's like you see LeBron on DraftKings, like, and it's just like, how can you regulate it? I just don't think you can. But if there's an opportunity and a space for you to get in, that's something different. But I agree with you. It's if you're playing, you should know better. And we've seen an umpire get in trouble because he's shared an account with a buddy. Like, it's just like, hey, I didn't take, I took my son's cough medicine. Like, what you're putting in your body, and what you're doing. Like, let's cut the crap and figure it out. Like, let's understand what we're doing and the ramifications of what can come, because it can ruin your career.
You're right. The game has changed. I know, again, I'll bring up Kevin Millard and an intentional talk on Major League Baseball Network, but he, 2 or 3 years ago, they said they don't want to do it talking about anything gambling. Well, now they have a segment of the show just for gambling. So the whole thing is changed. Now, for current players, of course, I don't think that's changed. I think it's where that's kind of bad news for the leagues and for the players, because they'll get suspended. But, it's like, everybody, golfers, Calcutta's, member guests. I mean, everybody's gambling on something. And that's the everyday gambling moments in life are like the most fun things that you can do in your life. It's like going to a bar and talking crap with your boys, and whether it's fantasy league or you're watching the game, you got to have a little something on. I don't care if it's for a tequila or can you get the girl's number at the bar, whatever you're betting on. It's fun. So I love the level of competition that gambling brings. And I like the everyday gambling moments in life. That's my favorite part.
Like trying to close in on what quarterback I have right now. I have Brock Purdy, Kyler Murray, Drake May, Justin Fields, Caleb Williams, Justin Herbert, or maybe Jordan Love. What? You go Murray or Fields? Why Murray or Fields? You could speak.
Rushing
Speedy.
upside.
Rushing upside?
Rushing upside for
So
both
you're going to
of them.
take your number one quarterback, Justin Fields.
Take another guy close to it, but I would do a rushing upside. I like for either Kyler Murray or Justin Fields in this spot. I'm not crazy about Purdy for fantasy, actually, this year.
Where do you guys go? Jabba, who do you go? I'm right now.
I'd go Murray over Fields, yeah.
How about
Probably Murray.
I'd go Murray, but you mentioned Herbert. You mentioned Herbert. If he's in this conversation, it's not even close.
If you like gambling, you have to do fantasy, right, Josh?
Yeah, I do some of it. Yeah, I
So
love it.
So you go Herbert.
Oh, Herbert, no, by far. I mean, he's a top 10 guy. I mean, top 7 guy. He's freak. I mean, you didn't mention some of the good ones, but you mentioned a bunch of the middle of the road guys right now. And Herbert's not a middle of the road guy.
All right, I'm going to go Herbert. We are talking to former Marlins third baseman and former LSU and Browns quarterback Josh Booty. Josh, you're looking at the quarterback play of right now college football. And we're talking, they were saying last year it wasn't a quarterback class. This year they're saying there could be 5 first-round picks. And the kid that showed up right now, Adler, who played very well in game number 1 for Penn State, do you see anybody but Nussmeier being the number 1 pick of this year's class?
I think if Sellers were to win some big games, some really big games, especially down the stretch, he's such a freakish athlete. He throws the ball better than I think Cam Newton did. Now, I don't know if he runs it quite as well, because Cam was the absolute best I'd ever seen in 1 year of the SEC, that he ran the tables on everybody. But I think that he's the kind of guy that you're going to have to look at. He's going to be a combine freak, but if he puts up unbelievable numbers and doesn't turn the ball over and throws the ball with accuracy, and he's up there 65-70% completion percentage, you're going to see that guy at the very top of every draft board, I think. Now, I think Nussmeier has Nussmeier is going to be up there as well because he's a thrower, like he's a real pure passer. There's others in college football that I like. I think Carson Beck, if he can turn kind of what everybody thinks about him around, he could be a guy that could be a definite first rounder and at the top too because he's 6'4". He's got a quick release. He's got experience. He started for Georgia for 2 years. He's going to lead Miami. Can he lead them to the ACC championship? I don't know.
Will his age hurt him though? He'll be 25.
Yeah, maybe. But so is there's some of these other guys. I mean, Nussmeier's a 5-year, 5th-year guy. I mean, a lot of these guys have been around. I was in college for 2 years. I wish I'd had 3 more years. That's just a lot, and so. You got to look at that age a little bit. There's probably a half a dozen starters in the NFL that are 23 and younger right now. I know Drake May's 22, and then a bunch of 23 and 24. So it's like you're right. You got to take that into account. But I do like Nussmeier. I do like Sellers. Some of the other guys I need to see more of. I like C.J. Carr looked good at Notre Dame. He really had some savviness. That Hoover guy last night from TCU looked good. He's a baseball player too. I liked him. He's not a first rounder, but he looked good. And then the guy at Ohio State, those guys always put up numbers. Is Julian Sayin going to put up huge numbers throughout the season? So it's going to be fun to watch these guys. And Arch Manning, everybody said he's the first pick overall. Let's see what he can do to bounce back because he's going to have to throw the ball better.
The reason why I ask is because I'm a Jet fan, and the Jets obviously have Justin Fields, and he has a good chance of winning the job and being there for the next 5 to 6 years. But knowing the New York Jets and the organization, Aaron Glenn is a first-time coach. He's going to want his own guy eventually. And being that Seller, and we were just talking about Adler and Nussmeier, the Jets are going to have an opportunity. They're going to be a top 10 pick. I don't know if the Jets are going to win more than 5, maybe even 7 games because it's Aaron Glenn's first season as a head coach. Even though their defense is good, their offense, they don't have a secondary wide receiver on this roster. So that's why I'm asking you, and that's the interesting part here is where did the Jets go? If they're in the top 10, do they go with a Seller if he falls to them? Do they go with a Nussmeier? Do they get a mobile quarterback? That's my question. That's why I asked you that.
See, looking back at last year and seeing Jaden Daniels and the success he had, I mean, a guy like LaNorris Sellers kind of sets up like that him a little bit. I know he's a stronger, more freakish athlete, and maybe not as good a passer as Jaden, but it seems like that's where everybody's going right now. It's almost like the high school game crept up to the college game. The college game crept up to the NFL in terms of the RPO and movement of the quarterback. So like Drew Aller, he's going to be used to the cold weather at Penn State. Is he a good guy for the Jets and their system? I don't know, compared to a guy that can run and pass and make moves outside the pocket and give him a chance to win in different ways. It's almost like a point guard now, even though Jaden Daniels is like a point guard. He can run, he can throw it fast, he can throw it downfield, he can do whatever. He can dish it like crazy. Yeah. And so I love those guys. I talked to legendary coach Noel Mazzoni, who coached all over the place, coached Phillip Rivers at NC State, coached at UCLA and Arizona State and everywhere, Auburn, A&M. Like he said, he'd rather have a small point guard now in today's game. And he's one of the developers of the RPO when it first came out. He invented the RPO, him and Kevin Sumlin and Dana Holgerson. And so he's like, dude, I'd rather have a point guard that I could get the ball out to anybody at any time and guy that can throw accurate. It's almost like a Bo Nix kind of guy than to have a drop back quarterback these days. And Drew Aller's a drop back quarterback. So it really depends on what that system is at the NFL level and who they really want. Do they want a Flacco? Do they want a Roethlisberger? Or do they want a guy that can move around like Kyler? And some of the guys that can really move around.
Well, you have the best last name. I'm going to tell you, Josh Booty. And Jabba has a very good drop.
I gave up the booty there.
So I just want to let you know, maybe he was talking about you. I don't know. But that's the drop that is very famous by the one and only Jabba Chamberlain. Again.
I gave up the booty there.
But there you go. Anyways, Josh, we really appreciate the time. You're sensational. Keep up the good work. And I'd love to get you on later in the NCAA season because I would love to see who you think could be favorites of winning the national championship. Obviously, I know you want your LSU Tigers to win it, but hey, maybe I'm not a Brian Kelly fan, okay? I'm not a big Brian Kelly fan. As everybody listens to this show, I can't stand the man. But I love Nussmeier. I think Nussmeier, to me, is probably the predominant number one pick in next year's class, especially if the Saints are drafting one. LSU, you know what I mean? I mean, there's some kind of connection there. But we really appreciate the time, buddy.
Man, thank you for having me. You guys are
Hey,
awesome.
Josh, tell me Dana Holgerson's the right dude. He's our new OC.
I like him a lot, dude.
Okay.
Well, he engineers some high-powered offenses. So I think once they get used to what he's trying to get accomplished, and his system is so good for quarterbacks, and he's going to put up big numbers. So I'm hoping Nebraska has an awesome year, and I'll be watching him close. He's a great guy too. He's a lot of fun to hang with.
All right,
Yes.
man.
Listen,
look at Jobber. He's getting all cheerful today. I've never seen
man,
him so
we haven't
happy.
had much to cheer about in Husker football for a while.
I have never seen this man so happy. And today, maybe it's Josh. Maybe it's
I gave up the booty
the
there.
booty day, Josh Booty. But we really appreciate
easy the way you word that.
What? Josh Booty? I mean,
Booty day?
Who's
Hold on,
got a
Nick.
better name than Josh Booty? I mean, the last name Booty is definitely a selling point for me. If
He's never heard that before.
What?
Move on.
What? What are you talking about? I mean, Josh, do you not have the best name, the best last name? Come on.
I love it, baby.
But we really love what you're doing right now, and congratulations on all the great things that you're doing. It's sensational.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. You guys are the best, dude. Anytime. I'd love to jump on and talk a little college football playoffs in the future.
Here we go. There we go. And hopefully my Seminoles win the national championship this year. Hopefully there's nobody on the team that likes to steal, I don't know, crab legs. Because we all know about the old JMO.
I love Jameis. All right.
Well,
man, I enjoyed it, boys.
Well, he's definitely not winning stun. You know what I mean? Speedy, you like that one, right? Anyways, thank you, Mr. Boots. We'll call him
Hey,
Bootster,
buddy.
the Bootster, the Booty man. There he goes.